don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh?
Yes. Hey, y'all. Well, it's story time in regards to that video I posted this morning of my husband and his mistress at the Atlanta airport. So, let me just preface this by saying, I'm a nice person. I'm a sweet person. I'll do anything for my family and my friends. And I'll help anybody out. Try to stay in my own lane. I try not to bother anyone or do any of that. But when people play in my face and plot and plan and do foul stuff, I'm not so nice anymore. And that's how most of us are. So let me start by saying on October 29th of 2022, my husband was scheduled to come home from a trip from Europe. He told me he had been over there working, and he worked a lot for his, his corporate job. I thought he was working anyway. Told me he had a speaking engagement in Europe. So I wanted to make sure that I had dinner and everything ready for him by the time he got home. So I called the airline. So I knew the flight number. And I was driving, so I couldn't, type it in my computer, because usually if you just type a flight number in, it'll just pop up what time the flight's going to land. So I had to call the airline that day. And when I asked the flight attendant, or not the flight attendant, I'm sorry, but the representative, what time that flight came in, he asked for my husband's name. And I was like, you don't need his name. I was like, just give me the flight information. If I typed it in, I just need the flight information. You don't need his name. So he was adamant about me giving the name. So I gave him the name. He comes back a few minutes later and he says, Mr. Such and Such and Miss What's her name landed 20 minutes ago. So I'm in shock, because I've been married 25, 26 years, and I'm thinking I'm just married to this outstanding, upstanding citizen. So I said, no, just his name. I don't know who that other person is, but just his name. And the guy states again, he was like, Mr. Such and Such and Miss What's her name just landed a few minutes ago, like 20 minutes ago. So I'm sitting in the Kroger parking lot like, what does this mean? I'm in a state of shock, actually. So my head is spinning by this time. My blood pressure's going up. And I'm like, what does this mean? So I'm like, okay. So right after that, my husband calls, and I was trying to hold it in and trying to hold what I was feeling in. So I was like, I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm going to wait till he gets to the house, because he was like, oh, I missed you. It's been a long, long week. This is the hardest money I ever earned, but I wish you could have gone with me. And I was like, okay, well, you can tell me about your trip when you get home. So, okay, stand by, y'all, for the rest.
So guys, this is Gail. This is a TikToker that I happened to stumble across her videos. Now, she tells her stories about how her low-life cheating husband decided to cheat on her for nothing that she actually did. He was just a terrible person. And she tells her story in about, I want to say, 8 different parts, and she gives various updates. Now, Gail went viral with this particular story, and it turns out I don't want to give the woman no shine that actually decided to go mess with somebody's husband and thought that it was, like an activity that you just do in real life. So I don't even want to give her no type of shine, but I want to talk about Gail and, what she has went through and some of the things she found out, just knowing that her husband, I want to say almost 30 years, decided to go get some little young girl and basically run off and just basically leave her. So let's get into Gail's story.
Okay, y'all. So when he comes home, I greet him at the door, give him a hug and a kiss and ask him about his trip while he's unpacking. And so I'm like, show me some pictures from your trip. And he was like, oh, I didn't take any pictures. I was running around working, and we were just so busy and on the go. We were just, just going to and fro. So I was like, oh, okay. So when we go to have dinner, I was like, hey, I called the airlines to see what time your flight was getting in. And I said, they told me there was someone else on your itinerary. And I tell him the person's name. And he was like, who was that? And I was like, I don't know. You tell me. He was like, oh, I don't know who that is. And he was like, He said, they must have made a mistake. So I was like, well, okay. So I went along with it, but something about it, my spirit just was not feeling right. So I was like, something about this is just not right. So that night when we go to bed, he's sleeping over there, just a snoring. I'm over there tossing and turning because I was like, something about this just does not feel right. So something tells me in the morning when you get up, go check your credit card bills that are on the counter. So the credit card bills are all stacked up out on our kitchen counter, and I don't open them because I don't pay the bill. I mean, it's American Express bill each month. They be high. So I was like, I ain't got none on it. So no need for me to open them. But that was my account, and I added him to it years ago. And I just let him open the bill and pay it. And there was sometimes I would open it, but most times I would just look at my portion of it and just keep it moving. So that morning when I get up, I go to church, and he tells me that he had to leave because he had to catch up on work and all that kind of stuff later on in the day. So I was like, okay. So I go to church, and when I come back from church, I get ready to go to the Falcon game. But something was like, check one of those credit card bills before you go. When I opened up that bill, the woman that the airline employee mentioned that was on his itinerary, her name was up and down my credit card bill. Flights here, flights there, flights to Paris, Delta vacations, a country here, an island there, something. And this was in 1 month. So I'm sitting there like, what in the world? So by this time, y'all, I'm steaming, and I got to go to this Falcon game with my girlfriends and try to act like I'm having a good time. But the whole time, my mind is racing. So I was like, okay. So I come home that night. I stack up all those bills. I got bills for like 8 months worth of bills. Actually, that was October. So 10 months. I pulled from December of 21 to October of 22. And when I tell you, it was very telling. This woman's name was on every one of my bills for each of those months several times. So while I thought he was out working and telling me that I couldn't travel with him because, he didn't want to get distracted. Oh, he had a travel mate. All right. He had one. Stand by for part 3.
So Gail realized that her husband pretty much had lied to her. After he went to sleep, she obviously went down and started going through the bills and realized this man had been lying to her the entire time. The credit card statements rendered something very different. And as Gail stated, this lady's name was all and through her credit card bills. Let's get into the next clip.
So I go through all these credit card bills, finds this girl's name for months on my credit card bills for the last 10 months specifically. So at that time I try to call my husband's phone and text him. No answer, no text back. So I call his boy's house because he told me he was going to his boy's house to watch football. No answer from him. So I texted him and was like, hey, is he with you? No answer back. Then all of a sudden, here come my phone ringing. It's my husband. Like, I ran out to get something to eat. Like, what's up? And I was like, oh, you know what's up? I said, and I started repeating the girl's name. And he was like, why you keep saying that name? And I was like, I kept saying the name. So he was like, well, I don't understand why you keep calling that name. And I was like, oh, yeah. I said, your gig is up. I was like, you nasty motherfucker. I was like, your gig is up. So he was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm on my way home. I was like, bring your ass on home. I was like, come home. Because by this time, I'm furious. So I hang up the phone. I'm just like livid, y'all. I promise you. I think my blood pressure was on like 1,000 that day. So he comes in, and he come in like all Billy Bad, like, why you keep mentioning that name? And I was like, you tell me why I keep mentioning that name. So I was like, I'm going to ask you this. I said, I'm going to ask you one time. I said, no, I know the truth. I was like, was such and such on this flight with you? He was like, no, I don't know why you keep mentioning that name. I don't know who that is. I said, I'm going to ask you one more motherfucking time and know that I know the truth. Don't lie to me. And it was like this mask fell off of him. And he sat down in his chair and he was like, yeah, she was with me. And I was like, okay. I said, so that's your girlfriend? He was like, yeah. I said, well, how long you been with her? He said a couple of years. And I was like, okay. So by this time, I can't hold it together. I mean, I think all I remember doing, I remember crying, and I had a really, really bad headache. And all he said to me was, and this was what he says was really kind of like cut me. He was like he was relieved. He was like, at least I ain't got to lie no more. I'm sorry I hurt you, but at least I don't have to lie anymore. So by this time, I'm like, say what now? So I'm screaming, I'm yelling. My son's upstairs. He comes down, goes back up, because I was like, everything's fine, everything's fine. But my head is like hurting like really, really bad, guys. So I come back to my bathroom to try to get some medicine. So I was like, let me take my blood pressure. Blood pressure was like 190 over 110 or some crazy shit like that. So I was like, I gotta get to a hospital. So stand by. It gets more interesting.
Okay, guys. Now, in this video clip, she done busted this man out, and he is still lying. The story gets more interesting and more interesting to the point I just wanted to beat this man up for Gail, y'all. So let's continue with this video. Yeah.
So by this time, my head is banging, and I know I need to go to the hospital. I know something is wrong. So, of course, I'm crying. I'm hysterical, trying to put my clothes on. He's trying to touch me and pet me up like, oh, I'm just so sorry that I made you feel this way. Now, didn't really have any compassion in his voice, any of that kind of stuff. So I was like, don't touch me. So I drive myself to the airport. He was like, I'll drive you. I was like, I said, I'll take my chances. I drive myself to the airport. I get there. Blood pressure is off the charts to the point they're like, ma'am, you're about to have a stroke. You got to calm down. And I really couldn't even talk. So they were like, you got to calm down. So they call my doctor. We get the medicine. They try to get it under control. So I'm there for a couple of hours. So I come home and he's sitting on the couch eating Cheetos like ain't shit happened. Right. And he comes in like, oh, what they say. And I was like, they said, they got my pressure, kind of down because it went all the way down. They said, go see a doctor in the morning. So that night I could not sleep. I cried all night long to the point when I got up that morning, I really couldn't even see. My eyes were so swollen. So I'm tore up. Right. So I go out later that morning. He's upstairs. I come upstairs because I slept in another bedroom. He's around here like, like like, he having a good day and shit. Like, his burdens is light. Mine heavy, but his is light. So, I come up and then he's out in our family room and I was like, look, I said, I don't know. And I'm still in a state of confusion. So I was like, I don't know what happened last night. And I was like, I don't know what I've done wrong. Because by this time I'm blaming myself. I was like, I know I'm getting older, but I try to keep myself up. I try to look nice, do whatever I can as a wife. I was like, I've tried my best. So I don't even know what I could have done or what I can do. So I'm taking the blame. And he was like, oh, it's not you. Like, it's not you. So, but I'm like, no, like, it's gotta be me. He was like, no, he's like, you're a good wife. You've been a really good wife. So I was like, well, I'll tell you what. I was like, I'm confused here. I say, so what we need to do, I was like, I think we need to sell the house. Let's move away, try to start over. You go to counseling. I go to counseling. We do some counseling and we start over. So he was kind of like real smug with it. Like, well, if that's what you want, like, yeah, we can do that. So I was like, well, what about her? Are you going to stop seeing her? So he paused for like 20 seconds and kind of tilted his head to the side. He was like, I ain't gonna tell you I'm gonna stop seeing her. And I was like, then you want a divorce? He was like, oh, I don't want a divorce. He was like, I ain't gonna let nobody fuck up my money. And I was blown away.
So in this particular video, Gail is talking about being so in shock that she has to be rushed to the hospital with a man that seems like a damn narcissist who seems to not even have any type of care and concern for her in any of the things she has experiences that she is experiencing. So let's let this play out, y'all. It gets interesting and interesting and interesting.
But I'm going to keep seeing her because I ain't going to let nobody fuck up my money. Let me tell you something. That was definitely the wrong answer and told me everything I needed to know about him, about the marriage, and what I needed to do next. So for the next couple of days, I'm still in a state of confusion. And I remember once I found the girl's name, I went to Instagram, good old Instagram, you go look there, you find anything. So I look up her name, I see her, and I'm really like feeling down. I'm like, oh my God, like she's beautiful. You know, he wants him someone younger. Like, I ain't all that. So I'm just tearing my ass up. So, you know, my girls called later that day. My best friend called that morning and was checking in on me, and I was trying to hide it from her, but I couldn't. So I'm like in a ball of tears, tell her what's happened. She's in a state of shock. And usually she always got something to say, but she was left speechless. So she calls my other girlfriend. She calls. We all in a state of shock. Everybody's tore to pieces. So that day, after, you know, I tell them what happened and everything, everybody, we just call it, we all were shocked. So the next day I go and meet with them because I see this girl on Instagram, and I'm telling them about it. So they asked me to come out to lunch, have lunch with them, my two girlfriends. So, because they needed to tell me something. So, and I bring it up. I was like, well, I see her pictures on Instagram. And I was like, she's pretty. And they were like, girl, she ain't all that damn pretty. Like, that's filters and plastic surgery and a whole bunch of other shit. Like, girl, it ain't even all that. And they were like, and kind of, it's like, we ain't trying to offend you. Y'all actually kind of favor each other. Like, she may be the younger version of you. So I'm thinking, like, I don't look like her. Like, that girl's, you know, pretty. Like, I don't look like that. So in the interim, I was like, well, at least I said they don't have any pictures of themselves up on her Instagram. So my girlfriends was like, that's why we needed to meet with you. Because they were like, there is a picture out there. So by this time, y'all, I'm devastated. So our food tries to come. We have papados. Food comes. I'm so distraught from tears and looking a hot mess. Couldn't really even eat. And we went into how bad off I was. You know you bad off when you can't do this. We needed to pray over our food. I couldn't even put my hands together to pray. I have never had that to happen. I couldn't even pray. I literally put my head down on the table while they were saying a prayer and cried. And basically they made me try to eat because I really could not eat anything. So it was just a complete mess. So when I get home, my husband, he was actually gone. I think he was gone, but, you know, he claimed he had a trip or something. And then he tells me when he did come home, like, well, I need to talk to you because I think we need a little break. So he was like, you need a break so you can think about some things. And I was like, huh? Like, I need to think about some things. He was like, yeah, you need a break so you can think about some things.
So get this. So Gail goes to have, I think it was lunch or maybe even dinner with her girlfriends to even find out more information about this man, only to get home for him to tell her that they need to take a break, as if she did something wrong and as if he needs to give her time while he go and be with his house.
3 to 6 months for me to think about some things and to think some things over. And I was like, I need to think some things over. I was like, I don't need to think about anything. He was like, yeah, I need to go away so you can think about some things. So I'm like, okay. And this is a straw that broke the camel's back when he said this. And then I knew that this man actually had no love for me and that he had been planning and plotting for a long time. He was like, yeah, and if you find somebody in that 3 to 6 month time frame, I'll understand. Now, who tell their spouse that? If they really love you, they don't want you all sleeping with nobody else. Not if everybody normal, ain't nobody sick or doing anything like that. So I knew then, I was like, I don't have but one other option. Divorce is the only option for me. And I tell you, I prayed about it, asked God about it. And when I tell you he was sending me signs, if you listen, he will send you signs. And he sent me sign after sign after sign, y'all. So I did. I filed for divorce. And each day I've gotten stronger. And I think my husband thought that, I don't know what he thought about me or what kind of person I was, but because he knew how I felt about infidelity. And I always used to tell him, you know, hey, if something ever happens, tell me on the front end. Because I'm going to hurt one way or the other, on the front end, on the back end. Just let me know. But don't play me for no fool. So he thought he got boo-boo the fool over here. So I was like, okay. And for Miss Girl that you saw in the video, yeah, she knew about me. He would have her at restaurants, hotels, games, had other women serving me my drinks. They'd feet under my table speaking to me. And he's sleeping with all these women. That is humiliating, y'all. So, you know what? I was like, if you give me shit to taste, I'm going to let you taste it back. So to the airport video. Yeah, I was shocked. I was dismayed because that was my first time seeing them. I knew eventually that I would see them out somewhere. It's Atlanta, and hey, it's a small town. So it's a big town, but it's a small town too. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try my best to be classy and all that kind of stuff. sometimes that just don't work. Because when you go in the gutter, when people go gutter with you, and I have to apologize to Michelle Obama, girl, when you said that, when they go low, we go high, that ain't my motto. Because when they go low, I go lower, I go gutter. I'm going gutter. I'm going to swim down with the rats with your ass. So I was like, okay, yeah. So she knew, and she was on Instagram sending all her little subliminal messages and all of that. Like, yeah, okay, I got you, girl. But y'all, when all this is over, I got a little story to tell about her and the rest of his story too. Our story. It's actually our story because it's my story to tell. So I'll share more with you all, but let me tell you something that's a cautionary tale. If you all want to move on, just say you want to move on, y'all. Because if you fuck around, you definitely going to find out. And just like him, my husband got the 1 and the 2. Be good. Y'all hear from me later. Bye.
So, as if things could have gotten any better, this loser actually tells her he's going to give her some time to be alone. And if she should happen to find someone else, that it will be okay. Now, if that's not dirty, I don't know what is. But the fact of the matter is, guys, this has been going on, and Gail is doing so much better with the outpouring support that she have received from all over the world. Gail's videos has garnered millions of views, and y'all have been reaching out. So let's get into what Gail is doing now and how she is moving forward with her divorce.
With you all, when I say that you all have shown an outpouring of love, support, kind words, prayers, just everything. And I just want to say how grateful I am, because that was very hard for me. And it's still hard for me. This is a journey that I wouldn't wish on anyone. This kind of betrayal and the lies and the deception, no one deserves that, you know. And just reading some of you all's stories, it makes me sad to know that so many people are still going through this same thing, you know. And it's not even about, you know, everybody's going through it. Black, white, you know, it has no color line, and men are going through it too with women who are doing the same thing. But, you know, I'm hoping that this will help someone know that they can share their story and not live in shame, thinking they can't say anything and to protect the other person. Those days are gone, y'all. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me, and loving on me during this time. So this is a love that I didn't even know I needed, but I needed it, guys. So, and for the Ride Out crew, y'all crack me up, getting y'all Air Force Ones or y'all stomping boots. But y'all, I'm too old for that. And I'll tell y'all this, I'm just being completely transparent. When I ran up on them in the airport, I never knew what I would do if I ever saw them together. And I didn't do anything because I'm older now and I can't fight. I really cannot fight. And I didn't want her to whip my ass. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So y'all, we're not going to fight. We're going to fight with our tongues and fight with the legal system. And since I'm still going through this process, according to my, you know, trusted counsel, Rachel St. Fleur and Melanie Fenwick Thompson, I got to start thinking smarter, guys. So I couldn't, you know, go off and do that. So I want to advise you guys too. Like sometimes we have to restrain. We do have to use self-restraint, guys. So I do appreciate you all, you know. And to my super sleuth, when I tell you, y'all are better than the FBI, the CIA, Scooby-Doo, Perry Mason. Y'all are on it. But yeah, we can lean back on some of that now. You know, we'll get it handled, guys. But thank you for your support. You know, and for you all who said I stayed, I did not. I know my worth. And as soon as I got more information after I initially found out on October 29th of 2022, there was so much more that came out between that time and when I filed. But I can't share that with you all right now because it is actually, this story gets crazier and crazier. But can't share that with you all right now, but I will at some point, you know, and I just hope that it helps someone else know that you're not going crazy. You're not alone with the gaslighting and people making you feel like, you know, you are less than. You're not. So, you know, and for me, you know, for those who want to stay, that is your prerogative. I'll support you, but I'm not one of those you, me, and she kind of girls. You know, there's not going to be no Eve and the Rough Riders on that one. No, it's either you or me. You know, I value the institution of marriage. I made a commitment to God. I made a commitment to him, and he just didn't stand up on his end. So, you know, It is what it is, guys. But I thank you all so much. And you'll be hearing from me soon. Hope y'all have a good one. Peace.
So Gail's story really inspired me because a lot of times when, people are in relationships, whether it be a marriage or even a, committed relationship, it sometimes the person, that's cheated on or whatever you want to call it is usually the one that feels like so damn bad. And I just, Gail coming out and, talking about her story, it actually helped her heal because keeping all of that stuff inside of you, trying to figure out what you did wrong and why this person looked like this or this and that, how she was saying that she thought the girl was pretty and then looked at herself, which she is a very beautiful woman. Obviously, when we're younger, we look a little different. As you get older, things change. And as she was stating, her friend said the girl looked like she was a younger version of her. And that's not even to try to compare her to the woman. And Gail, made a statement that I thought was funny because it's something that I have been saying on this channel, the word old. And a lot of people, especially the ones that's very insecure about their age, seem like they had a lot to say. The fact of the matter is, when you get to a certain age, you are old. And just like she said, she's old. I acknowledge myself as old, and I'm not 60 or 65, but I'm going to say that I am old because I am not as young as I used to be. So I usually find that people who don't like the word old is because they're insecure and they have some kind of insecurities with the word. It has nothing at all to do with the word old, because we know old is really, somebody that can't walk or something like that, but you do get older in age. So it would help to probably acknowledge it and maybe do the things that's going to make you happy right now so you're not so insecure about your age when people use the word old. But back to Gail in her story. I think she has a phenomenal story. She's going through the divorce. She's leaving this loser because she does not deserve anybody like that. That's just going to jump up and lead a wife for a young piece of ass of somebody that is going to use and abuse you, because that girl do not want him. She only want everything that comes with him, which is money and finances. So Gail spoke to a lot of other things that she found out that she did not speak about. And I just want to kind of let you guys know, it is being alleged that that woman has used Gail's credit card to pay her rent and all sorts of things. And those are some of the things that Gail is probably not alluding to, which she will update us once the divorce is final. But before I'm finished with this video, I want to show y'all this video that Gail took of her dusty, dirty husband and his side piece hoe. And guys, here is that notorious video that you probably have saw. If not, it is a viral moment where Gail is video recording her husband and his side piece hoe, because this woman knew damn well that this man had a wife. And please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Please enable the bell notifications so you do not miss out on the video. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.